Going into 2013, the Chicago drill music scene was reaching its peak, propelled by the immense popularity of Chief Keef. But while other up-and-coming drill artists were largely keeping the similar dark and violent themes that had made the genre popular, both lyrically and sonically, Chief Keef himself, who was now living the good life in the rich suburbs just outside of Chicago, and surrounded by all the lean and loud he could possibly consume, would quickly begin to experiment with his sound, cranking his auto-tune settings to the max, while beginning to add much more melodic elements to his rapping, combined with an often heavy slurring, likely at least partially caused by his increasing consumption of that prescription cough suppressant. Keef would also largely ditch his day one producers during this period, instead accepting beat submissions from random YouTube and SoundCloud producers, many of whom had taken the more upbeat elements from Keef's earlier projects, particularly his debut album Finally Rich, but turning those elements up tenfold. These beats were much more influenced by the late 2000s and early 2010s Atlanta rap and trap music, with artists and groups such as Roscoe Dash, Travis Porter, Young LA, and J Money, as well as of course Future, with inspiration also being taken from prolific producers from the area like DJ Spins, London on the Track, and KE on the Track. But with a new twist, these beats eventually got the label of futuristic beats amongst fans. While at the time, this era of Chief Keef was extremely criticized by mainstream rap fans, it's now largely considered perhaps his most influential era, playing a large role in making him one of the contenders for the most influential rapper of the 2010s, with this era that his fans tend to call the Lean era, together with what would eventually evolve around 2014 into an equally fantastically named era, the Zan era, arguably largely birthing what would become known as mumble rap, as well as playing an enormous role in influencing the flows, rapping styles, and beat choices of later popular artists like Lil Uzi Vert, Playboi Carti, Kodak Black, and countless others. But the reason why Chief Keef's 2013 era is so important to mention here is because by late 2013 and going into 2014 and 2015, the members of Chris World would also end up getting heavily involved in the buzzing Chicago music scene. But unlike the majority of rappers coming out of Chicago at this time, they would attempt to build heavily on this new sound that Chief Keef was creating, even using the same YouTube and SoundCloud producers such as Intel on the beat, who was one of the producers behind Chief Keef's classic that perhaps best describes the Lean era, the song Love No Thotties. Another producer who was getting commissioned a lot during this period was the French beat phenom Cash Money AP, who produced numerous songs for Keef and other GBE members during this time. Chris World would do this under the name Finesse Crew, which the Chris World rapper Saw J would present in his solo song titled after the group in September 2013. In the music video, we can see many key members of Chris World, including the main people of the Finesse Crew, including of course Saw J himself, as well as Chief 2 Times, Smooth, Bad Habit, now going by BH, and J Boogie, who incredibly at this point was still only 15 years old. J Boogie would eventually not only appear in these videos, but also participate in the rapping, such as the song BAS, released with a music video in May 2014, and a music video for Finesse Party, which was released in November 2014. J Boogie would release early solo songs, such as his 2014 remix of Bobby Shmurda's Hot N-Word, but for whatever reason, these songs have been now wiped off the internet. Despite most of Finesse Crew's songs being pretty upbeat party anthems, they would also keep repping their gang sets in their music videos, including in the banger titled Forever Mac and Chris, which was released in June 2015, as well as being seen dropping Wise for TYMB. However, TYMB was taking the dissing once again to another level, as Money Man would release his remix of Lil Durk's Competition titled No Competition in July 2014. Once again, he would get straight to the point, beginning the song by dissing Scooter and Rio, as well as Kenny Mac and Chris World. He would then begin his verse by saying how he blew someone's brain back on the 67th before aiming his diss directly at J Boogie, saying that he better cool and asking how is he even Chris World when he didn't even know Chris personally, as he had seemingly stayed flipside in 2010 when Chris was killed. Whether or not J Boogie actually knew Chris personally is unclear though, as Boogie himself has seemingly indicated that he did in fact know him, and that he has stayed on 67th since he was a young boy. Money Man would also diss Drill City and several other members from 06679 and their affiliated sets, such as Lil Ricky from Chris World and Lil Ant from Mix Mob, who was killed in 2013. Perhaps as a response to this song, Finesse Crew would eventually end up making their own dedicated diss track, released with a music video in May 2015. This song was called simply War, and the beat was a much more standard dark drill anthem. In the song, the Finesse Crew rappers go back and forth, spitting bars whilst dissing their ops, particularly TYMB, with Boogie also taking part in the rapping, saying that he's the youngest running things, being now 17 years old, before telling how he's driving through the ops hood with big clips while dropping Wise with both hands. This music video would also have a major cameo from a rapper who was making a lot of noise around this time, having become known a few years earlier for being one of the best friends of a true Chicago drill legend and LA Capone. This rapper was JB Bin Laden, who is the first person to appear in the video, he too dropping Y's with both hands. But this was not in fact the first time that JB had made an appearance on a Finesse Crew video, as already in December 2014, he can be seen in their music video for the song Kickstand Lean Boys, together with none other than Boss Top from O Block, with this possibly reflecting how O Block had now fallen out with TYMB too. JB is from a BD set called 400 East or 400E, which is directly on the other side of the Interstate 90 from Trap City and Chris World, with their main block being on the 71st and King Drive. Due to JB's close relationship with LA Capone, and LA even allegedly living on 400 East Hood with JB for a period of time, the set would even take on the name LA Gang in his honor following his death. But it seems that JB had a particularly strong bond with J Boogie, as he would often post and shout him out on social media.
Bow! Smoke your like a blue cigarette. A blue one. Bow!
However, not everyone was happy about people outside of 600 paying tribute to LA Capone, and 600 member Blast His Ass, aka Blastum, would in fact call out J Boogie and Chief 2 Times, aka Vontae, for throwing the LA hand sign on social media. But anyway, Chris World and also members like JB from 400 East were still also close with 0679, aka Trap City, and the Drill City Alliance. And particularly they were hanging out with members like CJ from Drill City. Meanwhile, it appears that in Drill City's hood, a new clique was forming, where guys like CJ were heavily involved in, with the earliest mention about the name seemingly going all the way back to the early 2010s. This clique, of course, being the Bloodhounds. It appears that they were particularly influenced by the early Glory Boys rappers, like pretty much all of Chicago at that point, and would often quote on social media lyrics from rappers like Lil Reese and Gino Marley mentioning how they were like Bloodhounds. Towards the end of 2015, CJ would even begin to tease what appeared to be a music project titled Bloodhound Savages. Going into 2016, CJ, J Boogie, and JB were seemingly still spending a lot of time together. Also, members from other sets were beginning to claim the Bloodhound clique, such as the members from the MTV 079 set.
Yeah, you see them bandanas, that mean we Bloodhound.
Yeah.
Ride through with your flag out.
Got the mask on, get your car flipped over.
Video, he just looking at us,
we
bro.
Bloodhound.
Yeah.
Are we Bloodhound on Vernon too?
As mentioned in an earlier chapter, MTV 079 is a brain-dead BD set that has had a long-running beef with the same sets as Drill City and Trap City, namely the historical majority GD sets from Lon City, Evans Mob, 8-Tray Mob, and Hit Squad. However, MTV's relationship with Drill City and Trap City was a complicated one, as they had seemingly until recently been also cool with the other brain-dead BD set that these two were beefing with, called Wiz City. This being likely another example of just how quickly the alliances and beefs were evolving in the area. But in any case, soon the Bloodhound clique was beginning to drop music, just like CJ had teased in late 2015, as in May 2016, they would drop a new song called Vicious, featuring the rappers MTV Cash from MTV 079, Hothead from Drill City, formerly Tank Montana from Mix Mob, and Drizzy Bands from Drill City, and in the chorus, labeling themselves as the Bloodhound villains. Some months later, in October 2016, Hothead would drop a song with a music video titled simply Bloodhound, where he warns his ops that if they're on any type of BS, they're going to die, and that he's a bloodhound and he wants his money dirty, like blood money. Around this time, J Boogie was now also repping the Bloodhound crew commonly on his social media, and going into 2017, the clique was beginning to gain increasing momentum, culminating in their biggest song at that point, the song Bloodhounds, released with a music video in April, which at the time was the song featuring the most Bloodhound-affiliated rappers, including CJ from Drill City, JB Bin Laden from 400 East, Hothead from Drill City, and MTV Chino and MTV Cash from MTV 079. The song is a pure Bloodhound anthem, mixed in with a very dark drill beat, with CJ beginning the song by rapping how the Bloodhounds are making noise in the streets and that he's not talking about the music. JB comes in by also repping Bloodhound from the start, followed by Hothead, who raps how the ops know that the Bloodhounds are the ones sending shots and the killing won't stop. MTV Chino then begins his verse with a much more pointed diss aimed likely at either the 8-Tray Mob or the Evans Mob, or both, as well as dissing Brick Squad 069, made famous by late rapper Lil Jojo, who was seemingly close with the 8-Tray Mob at the time.
8-Tray Mob, Say it, bro. On the motherfucking eye. Oh, here, say, man, we out here, man.
The song is ended by MTV Cash, who implies that others are trying to claim the name Bloodhound, but they are the real Bloodhounds. Also, J Boogie is in a visible role in the music video, where he's often shown toting his gun with a laser beam. And at the very end of the song, someone who sounds a lot like Boogie even begins to rap a few bars before the song fades out. The Bloodhounds were at this point clearly an established group, seemingly made primarily out of members from Drill City, Chris World, 400 East, and MTV 079. But while they were for a time being putting out quality music, it was clear from their raps that they were also staying very busy in the streets. Meanwhile, Lil Jeff had gotten to about high school age, still holding on to his dream of becoming a professional basketball player, with his 2017 sophomore team even seemingly winning some tournaments. Unfortunately though, it would appear that the next year his dream would come crashing down, as Jeff would not make it to his high school's varsity team. He would later talk about this during his DJU interview, saying how not making the team made him realize just how real life is, and that he had no idea what he would do after.
So all this is brand new. This is a brand new life you living, Lil Jeff, because you 21 now.
It ain't, folk.
So I wonder what you was doing at 16.
I was 16. Around that time,
you was doing the Soldier Boy.
I was trying to play basketball, but that's around the time I ain't make the varsity team. So at 16 was when I was realizing this shit real. I don't know what the fuck I'm gonna do. Cause you know, after that point, it's like once you don't make that team, it's over.
It seems that this was likely the moment when Jeff's life would truly begin to take a new direction, and with his previously desired career path now falling off track, he was looking for a new future. Jeff would still graduate from high school in 2020, with his mum throwing him a fancy graduation party, but Jeff wasn't about to head to university to chase an ordinary career. Instead, it seems that he would end up following in the footsteps of his big brother, and soon he would begin showing up in the streets, raising hell with the rest of the Bloodhounds.